a chance to look at the magnificent Roman architecture here in Nîmes, the famous arena, which dates back almost 2,000 years. Well, ice packs in the pockets as they got underway shortly before 1:30 in the afternoon. And a couple of early attacks. In the end, 5 men would go up the road. Stefan Rossetto, a familiar man in the breakaway since the start of this Tour de France, joined by fellow Frenchmen Alexis Goujard and Paul Orsolin. There was also Lars Bak, the oldest rider in the race, as well as Lukas Wisnowski. Let's see how they got on.
Even in the shadows of the Pont du Gard, the cicadas trying to cool themselves down, and that noise they make, and it often starts on the hot days mid-morning. This morning they were going at it first thing, and it is almost deafening, because on the hottest days they just do it louder and louder as they try harder and harder to keep themselves cool.
Now this is a nice one to ride across, the Pont du Gard.
I'm looking forward to a long shot of this when the peloton is coming across. And I think they've had a few practice runs at it this morning at the shot, so let's see if they nail it.
Well, when we look at an aqueduct that's 2,000 years old, it's worth focusing on for a while. It was 50 kilometres long at one point when it was initially completed and played a huge role in this region. Average speed so far, 46 kilometres per hour. We're going to hear from Steven Kruijswijk in a moment, and then we're going to go through the fall in the peloton. And it is Geraint Thomas. Geraint Thomas has gone down number one. An innocuous right-hand turn. He looks to be okay. Couple of spectators on the side of the road. No panic for Geraint Thomas. Teammates will be waiting just around the corner, but this shows how quickly the Tour can turn on its head.
This looked like he may have clipped a wheel. It happened so very quickly. I'm sure we'll get a replay very shortly because the cameras picked that up almost by accident, just getting a scenic. Here it comes. He's high-sided somehow. I'm not sure what he's hit.
Did he clip the inside of the gutter?
I'm not convinced. We need another slow-mo to really see what's going on there.
Well, new bike is required. That's a starter. Because he fell onto the right side, he probably damaged the rear derailleur.
You saw the handlebars turn to the right, and he was flipped up and off the bike.
I'd like to see...
really strange guy. I'd really like to see a slow-mo.
And what was on the road?
Yeah, to see if he's made any contact with the gutter or if he's hit a bump and simply relaxed on top of the handlebars and one hand's come off the bars and flicked him around. It's a mystery, but every single moment in the Tour de France matters. You can never relax.
He's at the back of the race once again. The advantage for the break at 1:32, but so far the story of the day, the crash of the defending champion.
Just a really strange crash, and couldn't quite see how it all kicked off. As we helicopter our way into Le Château de Lucerne.
And this used to be the residence of the D'Aubray family, lords of Lucerne. They built this in the 15th century, and it was designed for defensive purposes originally. It remained virtually intact throughout numerous attacks, and later on it went to become the town hall. 200 metres to go, no movement as yet. Lars Bak still just setting tempo on the front. Do they sprint?
Lars Bak is doing a really long turn, maybe.
It's just the wind-up from Lars Bak. Rossetto is about to just sneak those points. Is he? No, he's not. He marks the respect of Lars Bak. I like that.
That was the other thing I was thinking of, maybe in this group, and the really long turn that Lars Bak was doing. Otherwise, you would have expected to see him swing off. But maybe just a mark of respect, as you said, to one of the elder statesmen of the peloton. You roll through and take this one.
Sagan sits and waits patiently in the green jersey.
The lead-out has been let go, one of Colbrelli's teammates from Bahrain Merida. Colbrelli is the man in second wheel. Then it's Sagan, Murku, Viviani.
Is that Caleb Ewan at the back? Just waiting patiently?
No.
Jesper de Boost. Viviani, perhaps a chance to test the legs in the sprint. And now the sprint starts. Is Murku in the red colours. Also in the red is Colbrelli. The blue of Viviani. Peter Sagan not wasting energy. Murku will hit the brakes as they get to the line to make sure Viviani gets by him, and he does. The climb officially starts. Côte de Saint-Jean-de-Pin. Just short of 2 kilometres, 4.2% is the average gradient. Their advantage at 1:12. Perhaps by the time they reach the top of the climb, it might be back out to 1 minute and 30 seconds their lead. The teams of the sprinters might back things off ever so slightly on the climb.
Well, apart from this climb, the only other thing on the profile you'd call a hill comes in the last 20 kilometres. And from the profile, it looks steep. I didn't get that far out on the course today. We were coming in from completely other sides. I haven't seen it. So a little kicker and then a really fast run down into Nîmes. There's a couple of technical sections in the last 5 kilometres as we get to fly up one of these many gorges around this area.
Lars back once again, picking up the prizes out on the road. Rosetto, just as per the intermediate sprint, stays behind him, marks his respect to the oldest man in the race, who today, in an interview with Danish television, has said this will be his last Tour de France. It's his 7th participation in the race. This will be his last. He's put the boost doing the best he can to try and limit the overheating. He's putting the ice into the helmet. He needs your cabbage or your lettuce leaf. Look at the strain on his face. That's simply from the heat. That's not the tempo. That is the heat that he's struggling with.
Everybody is struggling with it. There's nobody that's comfortable, but some really struggle in the heat. They have great stress when it gets this hot. Others can bear it, still perform. They're uncomfortable. They get through it.
The ice down the back of the race leader, Julian Alaphilippe. He has thrown so much into this race, and ever since stage 3, he's been talking about everything from this point on being a bonus. Well, it's going to be geographically determined at the start. We'll come to that in a moment.
As we take a look at Le Château de Castelnau-Valence.
And this one stands in the middle of a park and the vineyards that sit down beyond it. It goes back to the 11th century originally. The medieval architect was renovated throughout the 19th century. And is open for public visitation. Stefan Rosetto in the Cofidis colours swings off. Lukas Wisenovsky now goes through to the front. There's been a fall again back in the peloton. And the Sunweb is down.
That's Bol.
Chad Hager is waiting with him.
That's Case Bol.
Jakob Fuglsang as well from the Astana rider. He's had a tough start to the tour. That's Omar Frale, number 73. This has taken a while to get going. Luis Leon Sanchez is there. Lutsenko is there. This looks like it could be collarbone territory. The helmet is coming off. That is a disaster.
The entire team there, the helmet off, the look, that dejected head towards the ground, that is a very bad sign.
The expression on the face of Jakob Fuglsang tells the story. Tour over. And across this bridge, they're then pretty close to hitting that little climb that you spoke of. It could be the launching pad for somebody from that breakaway to try and steal a little bit more glory. But for them to stand a chance of surviving, they need to resist that temptation of racing for the red number and stay together.
Yeah, with 44 seconds advantage, they need to stay team's time trial formation. Coming down, 42 seconds now, 36 degrees. We've talked about it all day long, and it is just because it is so very hot. Air temperature 36, but out on the road and the radiating heat off the tarmac. It's one of those days where they say it's 36, feels like, and feels more like 44 when you're out there on the road. This is a narrow passage for the peloton, this bridge.
They're about to hit the Pont de Saint-Nicolas. Peloton still being led by Jumbo-Visma and Lotto Soudal. Jumbo-Visma today, not for Steven Kruijswijk. It is for their sprinter Dylan Groenewegen. For Lotto Soudal, it is all for Caleb Ewan. The gorge and the river that runs through have been looking inviting all day long.